Child, the clock is not your friend if you treat it like a stranger. Tend to your spirit. Stop tending to noise that won't feed you. The world turns, but you must turn inward. Chase no one. Be still. Be bold. Water your soul, because wasted time don't ever bloom again. Your time is your testimony. Each hour you live, each moment you claim or discard, becomes a living scripture of who you are becoming. There is no louder sermon than how a soul chooses to spend its fleeting breath. You don't need a pulpit to preach. Your calendar, your footsteps, your choices speak volumes. The way you rise each morning, what you reach for when the silence settles, what you entertain when no one is watching, this is your declaration to the world. You are telling the story of your worth, not with grand gestures, but with small consistencies. Time is not just hours ticking on a clock, it is the measure of your life, and your respect for it determines your impact. When you waste it on bitterness, on pleasing people who don't even see you, on scrolling endlessly through borrowed lives, you dilute the divine ink of your story. You allow your testimony to be written in fragments and fog. But when you become intentional, when you decide that your hours are holy, something shifts. You become an author, not a bystander. It doesn't take wealth or fame to make your time meaningful. It takes attention. It takes discipline. It takes the boldness to walk away from noise that doesn't feed you and the courage to stay in the room with your own thoughts. The world will offer you every distraction dressed as opportunity, but not every invitation deserves a yes. Every yes costs something. Every time you say yes to what doesn't serve you, you say no to what could have made you whole. Be mindful of what you water. People who speak chaos, places that drain your spirit, habits that numb your fire. If you give them time, you give them power, and they will write your story for you. They'll make you believe you are less than what you were born to be. But child, hear this. You were born to write a testimony that only truth can carry. Your joy, your grief, your rising, your falling, they all belong in it. But it must be yours, not borrowed, not bent to fit someone else's mold. There's something holy about a person who protects their time. They walk slower, they speak deeper, they know when to leave and when to linger. You feel their presence not because they are loud, but because they are present, fully, undistracted, whole. They don't just exist, they live. They build, they breathe, they bless with their attention. That kind of power cannot be rushed or faked. It comes from knowing what your minutes are worth. Don't wait for permission to value your time. Don't wait for a tragedy to remind you that the clock won't wait. You have a purpose that demands attention, not just ambition. Start now. Turn off what dims you. Listen to the quiet. Tend to your calling like it's the last candle in the dark. Your time is not a test run. It's the proof of your purpose, the ink of your integrity. Live like your time belongs to something sacred, because it does. And let your days speak long after you're gone. Let them say you loved well, lived true, and spent yourself only on what mattered. Let your time be your testimony. Silence is not empty. It is not a hollow space waiting to be filled. It is not a pause between noise or a gap in conversation. Silence is presence. It is depth. It is the sound of your soul speaking when the world gets too loud to hear anything true. Silence does not beg for attention. It holds it. It does not explain. It understands. And in that understanding, it transforms. In a world that worships noise, silence is a rebellion. It is the act of choosing stillness when everything demands motion. People run from silence because they fear what they might hear. But silence, child, is not a threat. It's a teacher. It's where healing begins. It's where truth stretches its limbs. When the voices around you start to feel too many, when opinions cloud your vision and distractions become your drug, silence welcomes you back to yourself. It does not knock, it waits, patient, knowing you'll return when you're tired of pretending. Silence is where clarity lives, not in the shouting of the crowd or the echo of applause. When you sit with silence, you begin to feel what matters and what was just noise dressed in urgency. You remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You hear the quiet voice of your intuition, long ignored, now rising, and it never shouts, it whispers. It always has, but only silence lets it speak. We are taught that silence is passive, that it is weakness, that it means we have nothing to say. But there is strength in restraint and wisdom in withholding. Silence is not absence, it's alignment. It is the refusal to respond to chaos. It is choosing peace over proving. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay silent, not out of fear, but out of fullness. You know who you are, you know what you carry, and you don't need to spill it to be seen. Not all silence is the same. There is the silence of hurt, the kind that builds when pain goes unspoken. That silence can feel heavy, like a weight pressing on your chest. But even that silence, when held with tenderness, can teach. It tells you where the wounds are, what needs care, what boundaries were crossed. And when you honor that silence instead of running from it, you begin to heal. You learn to sit with yourself, not to escape, but to listen. Then there is the sacred silence, the kind you feel when you look at the stars, or when a child sleeps, or when the sun rises and the world holds its breath. That silence fills you. It reminds you that being alive is enough, that you don't need to perform to belong, that peace is not something to earn but to accept. That silence, real silence, is not empty, it's whole. You don't always need to explain yourself. You don't always need to respond. Not every question needs an answer. Not every insult needs a reply. Sometimes your silence is your strength. It is your discernment. It is your boundary. And sometimes your silence speaks louder than any word ever could. Let the silence become your sanctuary. Let it wrap around you like morning light, gentle, warm, and honest. It is in the silence that you'll find your truest voice. Not the voice trained to please or to fit in, but the voice that rose from your spirit, raw and unshaken. That voice is waiting, and silence is the only place it knows how to live. Comparison is a thief. It does not come with a shout or a warning. It slips in quietly, like a whisper you didn't invite. And before you know it, your joy is missing, your peace is rattled, and your sense of worth has been pawned off for someone else's reflection. Comparison does not build, it breaks. It steals softly, but the damage is loud. It makes you forget your blessings, ignore your progress, and doubt your divine design. You see someone else shining, and suddenly your light feels dim. But the truth is, their light was never meant to replace yours. The sun doesn't apologize to the moon, and the ocean never tries to compete with the sky. Everything that is made with care, as you were, has its own rhythm, its own beauty, its own season. But comparison turns all that grace into envy. It will have you running someone else's race in shoes that were never meant to fit you. It tells you lies dressed as ambition. It says you're behind when really you're just on a different road. It says you're not enough when you've been more than worthy since the day you took your first breath. Comparison will take a seed still growing and shame it for not being a tree. But growth, real growth, takes time. And time doesn't answer to anyone else's pace. In the quiet corners of your mind, comparison plants questions like, why not me? Why don't I have what they have? But those questions have no roots. They are distractions from the work that matters, the work of loving yourself, of honoring your path, of blooming where you were planted. Every moment spent watching someone else's harvest is a moment lost from tending your own garden. And what a tragedy it is to neglect your soil while envying someone else's fruit. Comparison convinces you that success is limited, that love is scarce, that there's only room for one star in the sky. But life is not a contest, it's a canvas. And your art is sacred, even if it looks nothing like theirs. You were not made to mimic. You were made to manifest. Your experiences, your scars, your joy, your rhythm, they are uniquely yours. And no mirror, no post, no title or praise from someone else can validate what was already stamped on your soul. Let them rise, let them glow. Their elevation is not your expiration. Their beauty does not cancel yours. What's meant for them will not pass you by, and what's meant for you will not be delayed by their gain. The only race you're in is with yesterday's version of you. When you find yourself in the trap of comparison, pause, breathe, return to gratitude. Look at your hands, at what they've built, at what they've survived. Look at your heart, at how it still hopes, still loves, still believes despite it all. That is no small thing. That is not invisible. That is not less. You don't have to prove your worth by measuring it against someone else. You only have to remember it. Own your journey, walk your path, and when you look at someone else shining, smile, not because you feel less, but because you know that the same light lives in you too. Comparison is a thief, but only if you let it in. Keep your door closed, keep your eyes on your purpose, and trust that you, just as you are already enough. Healing happens inward. It is not loud, it is not always visible, it does not ask for applause, and it does not move on command. It is a quiet revolution that begins beneath the surface, where the soul whispers and the heart remembers. People will look at you and think you're fine because the world only knows how to measure scars it can see. But the deepest healing is the kind that happens where no eyes can go. It starts in the dark, in the lonely moments, in the silence between sobs. It starts when you stop running and sit with what hurts, when you finally let the ache speak instead of shoving it down with distractions. Healing is not a straight line, it is a spiral. You'll revisit the same pain from different angles, and each time you do, you'll understand it better, hold it more gently, and release it more fully. People think healing is about forgetting or moving on, but healing is about remembering without breaking. It's about facing what happened and still choosing to live with your heart open. It's about finding the strength to tell yourself the truth, not the polished version, but the raw one. Healing is not about going back to who you were. It's about honoring who you are becoming because of what you survived. No one can do it for you. People can love you, sit beside you, pray for you, but no one can climb inside your soul and clean the wounds. That work is sacred. That work is yours. It means sitting with your younger self and saying, I see you, I believe you, I'm here now. It means forgiving, not for them, but for you, so that bitterness doesn't build a home in your body. It means letting go of what you thought healing should look like and embracing what it actually feels like. Sometimes it feels like grief. Sometimes it feels like anger. Sometimes it feels like nothing at all, just a numb kind of quiet, and that's okay. Healing is not always beautiful. It's messy, it's tender, it's exhausting, but it is worth it because slowly, without you even noticing, you start to breathe deeper. You start to sleep without heaviness. You start to laugh, not as a performance, but because joy finally found space again. Healing means setting boundaries. It means saying no without guilt. It means not explaining your pain to people committed to misunderstanding it. It means choosing yourself over and over, even when it feels unfamiliar. It means giving yourself the grace to be undone, because sometimes things must fall apart before they can be rebuilt right. Inward healing teaches you that your value was never lost, only buried beneath the weight of what hurt you. You begin to see yourself not as broken, but as becoming. And the more you meet yourself with kindness, the more your spirit remembers how to be whole. The world may never notice the work you're doing inside, but your soul does, your peace does, your future does. So take your time. Don't rush what needs tenderness. You are not behind. You are not weak. You are human, and healing is your birthright. Everything you need to begin again already lives within you. Trust that. Let your healing unfold like dawn, slow, soft, certain. And even if no one else sees it, let yourself bloom, not for them, for you, because healing happens inward, and that is where your truest strength lives. Don't chase shadows. Don't run after things that only look like light. Not everything that glimmers is gold, and not everything that moves is meant to be followed. Some paths are illusions, mirages dressed in urgency, calling your name but offering no shelter. Shadows are cast by light, yes, but they hold no warmth, no substance, no truth. They shift with time, change with angles, and vanish when confronted. To chase them is to exhaust yourself for what was never real to begin with. People will present their highlight reels, their perfect moments, their filtered joys, and if you're not careful, you'll mistake it all for fulfillment. You'll start to believe that you are behind, that you must do more, be more, have more. You'll run toward the image of success, the outline of happiness, the shadow of love, all the while losing your footing in the present moment. You'll trade your truth for someone else's projection and wonder why your spirit still feels hungry. Chasing shadows is what happens when you believe your value is out there, always ahead, always just out of reach. It's when you forget that the light you're looking for is already within you. It's when you define yourself by what you lack instead of who you are. Shadows can't love you back. They can't feed your purpose. They can't hold your hand when the silence falls. They are distractions, not destinations. You are not meant to live in pursuit of echoes. You are meant to live in presence, in truth, in the stillness where your real self can breathe. Stop chasing people who only come close when it's convenient. Stop pursuing validation that disappears as soon as you pause. Stop giving energy to things that do not return your love. Some things are hollow on purpose, designed to look full, but offer nothing. Learn to see past the shape and into the soul. There will be moments when the shadow looks like everything you've prayed for. It will come dressed in charm, in ambition, in false promises. But wait, breathe, watch it long enough, and it will reveal its emptiness. What is meant for you will not fade when the light shifts. What is meant for you will not run when you stop chasing. It will remain. It will root. It will grow even in your stillness. Sometimes the greatest test is to stop running, to sit with yourself, to hold space for your own becoming. That is where the real light is born, not in pursuit, but in presence. You do not have to prove your worth by chasing it. You only have to remember it. You only have to look within. The world may tempt you with shadows, but your soul knows the difference. It knows what is real. It knows what will last. When you stop chasing shadows, you begin to see clearly. You begin to notice the beauty that was already yours. You begin to reclaim the time, the energy, the peace that was lost to empty pursuits. And you begin to trust the journey again, not because you're chasing something, but because you're becoming someone whole, someone grounded, someone no longer fooled by what merely resembles the truth. The light you need is not ahead of you in some imagined future. It is here. It is now. It is inside you, quiet but constant. Let it guide you. Let it reveal what's real. And when you finally stop chasing shadows, you'll realize you were never lost. You were just looking in the wrong direction. You are the center of your becoming. No one else can live your growth. No one else can carry your transformation, your questions, your healing, or your rising. This journey, with all its curves and quiet victories, begins and ends with you. People may walk beside you for a while, offer wisdom, lend love, or even distract you, but they cannot become you. They cannot do the work your soul was born to do. Only you can turn your becoming into truth. There is a sacred moment when you stop looking outward for permission and begin turning inward for direction. That moment is where power begins. It is not loud, and it may not even look like a change to the outside world, but within you, something undeniable shifts. You stop asking who you need to be, and you begin remembering who you already are. You stop molding yourself to fit into rooms that were never built for you. You stop shrinking just to be seen. You stop asking the world to give you what you were meant to give yourself. Your becoming is not something distant or far away. It is unfolding in every choice you make today. It is written in how you speak to yourself when no one else is around. It is shaped by how you rise after falling, how you sit in discomfort without rushing the escape, how you honor your instincts even when others question them. Becoming is not about perfection. It's about permission. The permission to grow, to evolve, to not stay stuck in the idea someone once had of you. To become is to break through your own limits, not once, but over and over. It is to look at your own pain with tenderness instead of shame. It is to shed what no longer fits, even if you wore it for years, even if others expect you to keep it. Because what served you yesterday may not serve your spirit today, and the truth is, growth doesn't ask for approval, it asks for courage. You are the center of that courage, not your titles, not your achievements, not your followers or your family's opinions, just you, who you are when everything else is silent. That center, your still, sacred center, is where your power lives. Protect it, nourish it, return to it often, because when the world gets loud, you will need that center to remind you of your worth. Don't wait for someone to hand you clarity. Don't wait for the right time, the right love, the perfect sign. Your becoming is not waiting, it is happening. In every decision to choose peace over performance, in every boundary you honor, every moment you say, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn, in every breath that chooses presence over regret. That is the real becoming. That is where your life shifts from surviving to creating. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to outgrow who you used to be. You are allowed to redefine what success looks like for you. You are allowed to heal on your own timeline. You are allowed to take up space, to be seen, to be soft, to be strong, and you are allowed to do all of that without apology. You are the center of your becoming, not because you know everything, but because you are willing to walk through the unknown. And the beautiful, holy truth is this: everything you need is already within you. The path, the purpose, the light, it all begins with you. In the quiet truth of these words, one truth rises above all. You are both the seed and the soil of your becoming. Your time is your testimony. How you spend it reveals your truth more than any speech ever could. Silence, once feared, becomes your sanctuary, where healing begins and wisdom speaks. Comparison fades when you realize you were never meant to mirror anyone. Your light was crafted for its own sacred rhythm. Chasing shadows will only leave you breathless for things that cannot fill you, so stop running from yourself. The healing you seek is not out there. It is inward, unfolding in stillness and strength. And through it all, the center must remain you, not as the world wants you to be, but as you already are, whole, becoming enough. The world may not always see the depth of your transformation, but you will feel it in your peace, in your choices, in the way you no longer abandon yourself. That is power. That is grace. That is the quiet, steady fire of someone who has come home to themselves.